Okay, this is gonna be a much shorter video than the initial launch video yesterday for the B580 or Battlemage 580 card from Intel. This is the very first third-party add-in card that I've taken a look at for anything Intel. This is coming from Sparkle, and this is their Titan. Not to be confused with an NVIDIA Titan. This is an Intel Titan. Jawa is the #1 online gaming marketplace to buy and sell new and used gaming gear and get awesome custom PCs at amazing prices. Jawa's mission is to be the community where great gaming gear is sold at reasonable prices by putting the market in the hands of gamers by building the best place for you to discuss, buy, and sell your PC gear. Jawa is also proud of their GPU and CPU buying program, where Jawa will make you a direct offer on your used CPUs and GPUs to help immediately offset the cost of your new hardware. Simply click on the Get an Offer button and see an instant offer on your components. Jawa's buyer and seller protection policies ensure safe and reliable transactions, while verified sellers offer an increased buying experience through pre-vetted sellers so you can shop with peace of mind. To get started browsing amazing deals and to see all that Jawa has to offer from enthusiasts just like you, follow the sponsored link in the description below. So essentially it's like the same, I think it's even the same PCB. It kind of looks like it, to be honest. Yeah. Everything still appears to be in the exact same spot when I see the caps and the chokes and stuff. So honestly, without taking the cooler off, which I guess I could, it does appear like it is going to be the exact same PCB. Anyway, with that said, does it give us the exact same performance? Well, the numbers initially are different. What I mean by that is the B580 Intel card, the limited edition card, has 20 Xe cores, 5 render slices, 20 ray tracing units, 160 AI engines, but a 2670 megahertz graphics clock, 12 gigabytes of VRAM, and 192-bit memory bus, and a 190 watt TDP. This has essentially all the same specs, obviously, except as a 200 watt TDP and a 2740 megahertz clock. So it's a 70 megahertz faster core clock on here. That's gonna be very interesting to see on the charts because of the fact that both of these cards out of the box with their automatic boost logics, which again, if power limit, headroom, voltage, all have a little bit extra headroom available to them, the clocks will push themselves based on the power to frequency curve. And that curve does go beyond both of these cards' rated megahertz. They both went to 2850 megahertz, locked across the board, making them essentially the exact same card, if you will, in terms of frequency and such. So initially off the bat, this third-party card did not give us any sort of an actual benefit in terms of performance anyway, over the Intel card. It did cost $20 more. It's a $269.99 MSRP versus the $249 MSRP of the Intel Arc B580 limited card. So it is a longer card, as you can see, in terms of height and length. It's a little bit taller. You have a little bit more extending off the top. It is a 2-slot card. They call it technically 2 1/4 slot because technically it does encroach over the extra slot. Lengthwise though, some really small form factors might have a problem with the length of this card, but otherwise I think it would be fine. Again, the PCB stops like right here. The rest of this is just additional cooling, and that did actually show in the benchmarks. It ran on average 10C cooler than the Intel B580 limited edition card. The B580 card ran anywhere between 78C to 79C, fluctuating back and forth depending on the type of test that it was running. So if we were running a 1440p with ray tracing type of test, it was like 78C typically. The Sparkle card was actually running at 70C, pretty much locked across the board. So the larger cooler with the vapor chamber is clearly benefiting. And if these are the same PCBs, which they really do look like, then the larger cooler with the bigger fins and heatsink definitely was beneficial to nearly 10C worth of additional cooling. But all of that aside, why don't we go ahead and talk about the fact that it's performing exactly the same. It's very rare that we get an add-in. I've done many videos expressing like third-party cards are very rarely worth their price premium. Now we're talking $20 in this instance. It's not huge. There are some cards you can pay $200 in price premium and going with an add-in board partner. So if we look at Port Royal here, you can see the 580 Titan scored 2 points more than the 580 Limited. If we take a look at Time Spy Extreme, that one actually had a little bit of a difference there, 7148 versus 7097. Again, a non-tangible difference. Like these synthetic benchmarks, like anything 3D Mark, are intended to really make small differences look bigger on charts, because it really is just like a Hall of Fame type of enthusiast overclocking utility to create a leaderboard. So little changes can lead to big differences. But in this instance, you would never notice that. Borderlands 3, the 580 Limited was getting 111 and 81, and the 580 Titan was getting 111 and 81. Like exactly the same number, not even a run variance. That's what's crazy about this. And Phil did a lot of the testing for this, and he basically told me, yes, I checked. Yes, we ran them multiple times. Yes, I made sure that I wasn't filling in the wrong cell on our Google Sheet. It's just, that is how identical these cards are performing. If we move on over here to Cyberpunk 2077 with DLSS off and ray tracing off, the 580 Limited, 96 and 63, and the 580 Titan, 96 and 63. Again, the exact same numbers, which oftentimes with the add-in card, you don't get them landing exactly in the same number. Usually there's maybe 1 or 2 FPS difference. This is kind of crazy. Again, but in Cyberpunk 2077 with RT on, the exact same story. 39 FPS and 25 FPS for both cards for 1080p and 1440. Phil, are you sure you weren't like, I just don't want to do this, I'm just gonna write the same numbers?
Dude, I spent so much time retesting it because I also couldn't believe it.
I'm starting to look like you want to go home early on Friday.
No, like I spent extra time on Friday because it kept getting the same numbers, and I'm like, no, this feels wrong.
It's literally, I think it's literally the same card. Like, I think it's quite literally the same card with a different cooler. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, 580 Limited, 153, the exact same numbers again. Shadow of the Tomb Raider with RT on. Oh, there's 1 FPS difference in 1080p on that one, a 109 versus a 108. Both are 76 and 1440p. Forza Horizon 5, the 580 Limited, 108, 10. Oh, so the Titan beat it in 1440p by 1 FPS. Let's talk about power real quick, and then we'll do a teardown. I'm actually gonna open these up. I wanna know now if they're the same PCB. I just have to know. This chart looks weird. I talked about this in the initial Arc launch for the 580 on the Intel card, that the 4060's power fluctuation was just all kinds of all over the place. This is a measurement of both the PCIe slot as well as the PCIe power slot or power cable, and the 4060 is the only card that was pulling from both. The rest of these cards were pulling pretty much all of their power except for maybe 2 to 3 watts from the PCI Express cable itself and not the slot. And the only line that's different on here versus the limited edition card review is going to be the yellow one that's drawing a line straight through the middle of the 4060, making it, ironically, the most efficient card of the bunch. And that's what's weird about this, because of the fact that these cards have 190 watt TDPs, but both of them are pulling far less than that. You'll see on average, the Sparkle card was pulling about 120. The Intel card was pulling about 135. The only reason I can really account for this, because with the PMD2, we can measure everything as well as software and hardware monitoring of this, is the temperature difference might be what's making up some of that power draw difference. As cards get hotter, they will pull more power. Efficient loss through heat leads to more power draw. So the only thing I can think is the near 10C difference we saw on the Sparkle card makes up for the power difference we're seeing versus the Intel card and the Sparkle card. That's the first thing that made these two cards different. Outside of their acoustic profile of the fan types and such, and the fact that, quite honestly, this is purely subjective, I think this card is ugly AF. First of all, I'm blue colorblind, so this to me just looks like a weird shade of almost like a violet-y color. The backplate doesn't even match the plastic, so the backplate almost looks purple to me. And then the fan blades, I can't tell if they're gray or green or blue. Like, I can't tell what color they are. So that's just a subjective thing. I think you'd have a hard time finding a build to put this in where it did not literally stick out like a blue thumb in this instance. But that Sparkle color theme, that's what they go with. This is one of those times though where the $20, it's like, save the 20 bucks, to be honest. If you're watching this video at a time when you can still get the Intel card. Let's not forget, the Intel card has the word limited on it. It is a limited availability card. When they're gone, they're gone. Intel is not in the business right now of selling cards via first party to retail. They are in the business right now of designing cards and then having their board partners basically do the bulk of all the sales. Kind of the way NVIDIA used to do it. In fact, NVIDIA didn't used to sell cards at all. Then the Founders Edition cards stuck around and they were limited, and then Founder Edition cards started living the entire life cycle of the family of GPUs. So right now, Intel's kind of in that middle category right there, where they will offer their Founders card or their limited edition card for a short while, and then when they're gone, and you have no choice but to go with the board partner cards. I don't know what other MSRP options exist outside of Intel itself. The Sparkle card is the only one I have any details on at the moment. But if you're watching this video and both are available, I would truly just get the Intel card and save the $20. If not, the $20 markup is explained with the fact that they have to source their own coolers and everything and put them together, right? They're sourcing the die and the design from Intel, and then Sparkle's responsible for putting its RAM chips on there, its VRMs that they have to source the parts from. They're just getting the core architecture from Intel. So that's where a lot of the extra cost comes from. Let's tear it down, both cards, because I really want to know now if they are the same exact PCB. So I just went ahead and went right through that sticker there. It doesn't say void, but it does let them know if you've gone into it. So this is a Torx. What size Torx is this, in case you're curious? I can't read that. It's a small one. If you have an iFixit kit, it's guaranteed to have the right bit, okay? There's our new slogan. If it's an iFixit, it's guaranteed to have the bit. Shut up. It's a jingle. All right, look at that layout. You can tell it's very rectangular based on that tension deal right there. They can get away with actually just taking the backplate off and not having to deal with, see, these are Phillips. These are not the same. I think I can get away with not having to take the paste off. That way, if I have to do any further testing, I have the same exact way that it's shipped. Okay, they are not the same PCB. Already, the power plugs are different. So the reason why I can say that they're not the same is because you see how the fan plugs and the LED are on the edge of the card, on the end? This is right here. So it could very well still be like a reference style card, but they might have moved the power plug or whatever based on for their cooler. That way it's not coming out right here because they need the space for that big plug, right? So I was just curious whether or not they were the same. So what brand RAM do we have here? Okay, so we got Samsung RAM. They are tied into the cooler right here. The cutest little VRM links that you've ever seen. But I gotta repaste that now. Paste is fairly dry. GPUs tend to use a thicker, more dry paste than say a kind of a liquidy paste because of pump out. So because they go through easily through the direct die contact, they can phase change quite a bit. If you go with a very liquidy type of paste, and with gravity, especially if it's vertical, it can pump out and then lead to higher temperatures over time. So I'm gonna leave the Intel card assembled without taking off the front side so I'm not messing up that paste. So this is always gonna be our reference card that we can compare against as cards come out. And no problems taking the front off of the Sparkle card. But look at the size of this cooler for something so efficient. Yeah, I might as well clean that die off real quick so we can kind of take a look at it. So this really does give me hope that they might be able to scale this up. Give us like a 980 version. Actually, you know what? Give it a different number. They're just recycling old NVIDIA numbers now. Think about it. 580, 570, 750, 770, whatever. So it's just crazy to think that we're getting this level of performance now out of this teeny tiny little thing. But you know what? That's one of the reasons why it's performing so damn good versus a 4060, because it has 12 gigabytes of VRAM on there. All right, well, there you go. That's the Sparkle card. Not a whole lot to talk about. It's literally the same exact performance as the Intel limited edition card when you take into account its auto overclocking and stuff. And there's no way to really turn that off. I mean, it's just, we installed the driver and off it went. There's no we didn't do any overclocking. These were just out of the box. So if you can get the Intel card, save 20 bucks. If you can't, well, that's how that one did. It's the same thing.